All right, we got the chassis moved over to the paint area. We're doing a finish on the transformer shell, and then we're going to let that cure up. It's going to be another day and a half, 2 days to that one. Probably the weekend before we get a chance to put our hands back on it to do anything with the wiring and all the caps and clean it up. So in the meantime, we've got a coat, a finish, a color coat on the push button housings for the tone controls. So they are curing up. We are going to concentrate now, one thing at a time, on this push button assembly for the station presets. This one's got part of this dust cover missing. We're going to remake that and put a fresh one back on it. But if you remember in the original intro video, maybe, or video 1, in progress 1, we discussed the button pads that are there in the thing. These are just, I don't know, I think they're just bumpers for the switches, so they don't, I don't know. But once they go, this sometimes these things do not lock in. On some of them they will, and others they won't. They won't. You can't get them to lock in like that. And that, I think, is because these bumpers wind up decaying to the point that they just obliterate, like this one here. And once all of them go, you won't get these things to lock in. They won't operate properly, and you'll have nothing but problems and issues with it. Now, in some cases, I've seen where people just blew them off and didn't bother with it, and they wound up okay. Just like I say, you know, some have a problem and an issue with it when they go, and others may not. So what I'm going to do is we're going to strip this thing down and get this, what's left of the dust cover, off of it, and at least it kept the crud from accumulating in here where the coils are. We're going to safe house the coils and stuff. We're going to give it a brushing down, and then we are going to take this bracket off. We're going to take the knobs off, and we're going to, you see these hex screws here, there's one on each side. You take them off, and what it does is it allows this front plate right here to float. And what you'll wind up doing is you might get enough separation between, where's my pig sticker? You might get enough separation between the front plate and this housing. This is part of the framework for the push button assembly. You might get enough gaposis there that allows this, that little T right there, to move more in the front forward direction with enough distance to get this out of that hole and get it separated where you can take the entire shaft and spring out for each of these. Now, it is a tussle. It's not for anybody who has no guts. What I've had to do on some of these is take one of these thicknesses off the ends on each of these. That gives you a little bit more fudge factor in order to get the things out, if you can get enough spacing between these two objects right here. And that will afford you enough where you don't have to fight it so hard, because you'll fight it to get it separated, and then you'll have to fight it putting it back. So, I mean, you gotta want to do this. If you don't want to do it, you use whatever methods you can in order to do it. This, I found, gives me an opportunity to do those magic rings in here in order to salvage the push button assembly. I've seen some where, well, I think in the last 529 that I did, these things would not lock in, and what they did was, when they took it out, and they said, well, I don't know, they may have tried to open this up so that they could put more bumpers in here, but they said to heck with it, and I found that the thing wasn't even connected in to the rest of the circuitry. So, I mean, the buttons were essentially dead. So you had to tune it manually. So, I'm going to go through. I have a video on these things. I'll try to find it and put a link into the description on this. But for this radio, we're going to do the same thing again, and we're going to show you short segments of what we're doing. So stay tuned. Let me take this to the next step, and we'll be back. Okay, hopefully you can hear me all right over the fan and the plane and the crickets and the silence. We got this thing with the hardware removed, and we've got some separation there right now on these two, the plate and the framework of the button assembly, push button assembly. And we went through, prior to this is uptight. You can see how much is left there of those. Hopefully you can. And we took about 332 or thereabouts off of there, just enough to where there's enough poking through in its normal state, in its relaxed state. So now that we got that thing, you can see this thing is just about ready to come out. So what we will do is we will take a little screwdriver and wedge it in there like that, giving us an opportunity to take the spring out. We'll go to the next one, we'll take it out, take the spring out, and we'll go to the next one and take the spring out. Yep, there we go. Do a little hocus cadabra on it. Now we can go ahead and slide these things. You can go ahead and slide these things out, and you don't have to worry about what order you're pulling them out, because they're all exactly alike. Now, there's so many raw edges on the edges of these. Hopefully I can keep my little big hands out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Come on, there we go. Okay. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Jiggle, jiggle. Yeah, there's crap built up on this thing that I don't know why. Why I'm having such a hard time with this thing. Let's go to the next one. I see that there's... Okay. Alright. Yeah, talk to me into it. Take a little file. And take the burrs off. It's where they sheared these things off and cut them, that they didn't deburr the edges quite enough to make it smooth. So we're gonna smooth it ourselves. Alright. Alright, guys. Do me good. There we go. Yeah. See, it wasn't really ineptness on my part. But, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Okay, now, once you got those all removed, you can... Well, you could, if you wanted to. You have to remove a little burr over here on this locking bar, and it should come out. Well, it will come out, not should. There we go. There's just enough crap that builds up over time that, and you can slide it all the way out. Yeah, there's a burr on the end of it. Yeah, let's take that sucker and get rid of it. Yeah, there's a little tit right there on the end of that thing, and we're gonna shave the edges down. I do this to all the stuff that I take out to remove any of the burrs in it. It just makes operation of the stuff a lot smoother. There's no hiccups or no I'm not going to go because you're here. Take the edges off the thing, put a little cham on the edges, and take and schmooze out these are going to go out in the dip anyway and get cleaned up because there's little tiny rust areas that are showing up on these things. So now you don't have to go this far. I mean, you can do whatever you can do, whatever you want to do with it still together, and I mean, you can still do this, but if you have an operation problem with the button locking, you're going to have to take it apart. There's just no way around it. All the spray and the sobbing and the asking questions and why won't it do that? Well, won't get it done. You'll just get yourself deeper in emotional distress. Now these here can come out, and this here can come out, and these here we can waste those. Waste not, want not. Okay. Springs, bars, shafts, ferrules, stuff. So now, see, we can get in there and get that sucker good and clean. Now, what I generally do is, the first thing you want to do is safe house these coils by any means. What I think what I did on the last one and some of the others was take a piece of cardboard about that wide, maybe a little bit wider, a little longer than the coil is, and I take my fizzy stick and go in here, and I bring all those fine wires out like that, and I got a clear shot, would have a clear shot, right down that thing to slide that cardboard all the way through. And then I go through and get me a little piece of cardboard on the top, and I protect these things to a certain degree so I don't snag them on anything or whatever, because later we're gonna permanently put them in a safe zone. We're going to put them in their own what do they call it, safe area. So and then I can go ahead and use, see if I can do this without shaking up the world. I take a new brass brush, and I start brushing these things here. Put a little magic potion on it. If you don't want to get the things wet or whatever, put your little magic potion on there, and take you a. Now the reason why I say a new one, because these used ones get all bent up and out of shape and whatever, and the brand new ones are, if you don't put too much pressure on them, will do the job and get to those spaces down in there. And then before I do have a contact file, a point file, but I found what works best and simple is take a piece of fine emery, real fine emery, and cut yourself a strip and fold it in half so you got some on both sides, and then you can take and pinch those things together and rub it. I usually do that step whenever I get the shafts back in place, so that way I can lock them in. I can put this thing in there, lock the button in, putting pressure on both points, and jiggle it in there. So that's what I do with that. And then I go through and I double check that the coils are still intact to their connection points. They all connect to this bus bar up here on one end, and they connect to these. I don't know why in the hell I ain't using my pig sticker. they connect to these tangs right here on all of those. And I don't know why. Oh yeah, there they are. There's color coding right here on it. There's a yellow, a red, a green, a blue, and this one down here on the end is supposed to be white. You can see that one right there. Hopefully you can. And the yellow. There we go. So everything here that you see except for this thing is going to go in the dip. Dip, 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 dip. The springs, you don't really have to put them in there unless you really want to. All the hardware should go in, and it'll help get rid of some of that green, especially when you take a stainless bristle brush to it and clean it up. And then we're going to go on here with new rubber grommets. So that's all I wanted to cover. Thanks for watching.